calling all members of the in-crowd. If you want to get in on the action, we want to hear from you. Hit us up, faderoutemail@gmail.com, or slide in our DMs on IG at FadeRoutePodcast, or drop us a line on X at FadeRouteDNZ. You can find us on Facebook, The Fade Route with DNZ. We're on Spreaker. We're on YouTube, The Fade Route with DNZ. Catch our videos. Like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, and spread the word. Order up! All right, boys and girls, for those of you that don't know, WrestleMania season is upon us, and this Saturday and Sunday is a 2-night affair. But it is time for us to order up.
Order up, order up.
In honor of the Showcase of the Immortals, we are going to order up our top 5 favorite, our top 5 best WrestleMania Marquee Matches. Some of them were the main event, some of them should have been the main event. But here we go. From 5 to 1, what do you got, D?
All right, first off, I've got to start with the one that started all for me, and that was WrestleMania 3, Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. I think it was 1986 or 1987. I believe this was in the Pontiac Silverdome. Andre was 40 years old, but he was on the downside of his career going into the match. Storyline was being played that he turned against Hogan. Hogan slammed Andre, and the rest is history. I mean, it's the iconic logo with them nose to nose. You know, it's just, for me, it has to be top 5. You put it wherever you want, but it's top 5. Number 4 is The Rock versus Stone Cold in WrestleMania 28? No, WrestleMania 18? WrestleMania 17. WrestleMania 17, 2001. It's the My Way or the Highway, Limp Bizkit. This was the height of the Attitude Era, and these two were the best wrestlers in the WWE. My all-time favorite. Number 3, and I didn't watch this one live, but I watched it after it happened, and I have to say it was one of the best. It was The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. And this was WrestleMania 25, 2009. This is the career versus the streak. And as old as these guys were and how many tread was on the tires, they still gave an amazing match. Number 2, you're going to laugh, but it resonates with me because I remember it. It's Bret Hart versus Yokozuna, WrestleMania 9, 1993, Caesar's Palace. I just remember looking forward to seeing the match. I wanted to see Bret defend the title against Yokozuna. Bret getting, Yoko in the sharpshooter, Mr. Fuji's throwing the salt in his eyes, Yoko bonsai dropping Bret, and then here comes Hogan. And to help Bret, he body slams Yokozuna. I mean, I was 9 years old, and it was the best day ever. Another one. This is number 1 for me, and just because of the impact it had, and because of what it meant. It wasn't that great of a match, but it's just, it's history. And it's WrestleMania 30. It's Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar. It's the end of the streak. I mean, it might have not been the best match, but it was iconic. Arguably the best wrestler of all time against the best fighter the WWE ever had. I was upset when it happened, but now I look back on it and it all makes sense. And that's mine. What do you got, Z?
That's fair. Those are all fair choices. Especially like Hogan and Andre. Like, that's something that really took WrestleMania into the stratosphere, because you had WrestleMania 2 the year before, the 3 different locations, and like lots of audio problems, and a main event of Hogan and King Kong Bundy in a cage, and it's like, what are we doing here? They're trying to compete with Jim Crockett, and they've got Flair, they've got Luger, they've got Sting, they've got all these legitimate athletes and legitimate workhorses. So you needed to hit a home run with WrestleMania 3, and they did. Now, for me, I gotta go with Austin and Rock, but not WrestleMania 17. That one it's a very good match. Known more for Austin's heel turn, started the invasion, and it started the downturn of the business for a long period of time.
Yep.
But for me, I like WrestleMania 19 a little bit better. Little did we know it was Austin's last full format match, right? He'll make his appearances, he'll do his Stone Cold Stunners, he'll drink his beer, and then he'll go back to Broken Skull Ranch. But that was the end of the era right there, before our very eyes. Was it a little finisher heavy? Yeah. But that was the style of the time, right? It was 2003. It was very much in that vein. But it sent The Rock off to Hollywood. It sent Austin to retirement, and it really just put a capstone on what turned out to be our childhood for the most part. Because, yeah. We first, and we're going to get to number 4 here, WrestleMania 14, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Shawn Michaels. That was actually the first. That was the start of it. That was the first WrestleMania that we watched together in your mom's living room. We were Ponderosa chicken wings. I remember. Yes. Our boys came over. We watched the show. That was it. That was what took off the Attitude Era. That's what made the Attitude Era great. Was that moment? Was, can Stone Cold Steve Austin take the mantle? And he did. Right? He took the ball. He ran with it. Right? And they created a whole era, and they created something that just struck pop culture so much that it ushered in wrestling's rebirth, right? It was wrestling's boom. And you can't do that without Stone Cold Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels. Number 3, this is gonna, it sounds a little campy, but whatever. I like Bret versus Yoko WrestleMania 10. So that was a little, WrestleMania 9, as you remember, like you said, was, Bret not being able to slay the big giant, right? And Hulk Hogan having to come in and save the day. And then the business went in the toilet. You had steroid trials. You had, Luger coming over from WCW. They tried to make him Hulk Hogan, and you can't make somebody Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan's Hulk Hogan. Lex Luger was a microwave version of Hulk Hogan. It didn't work. Lex Luger was a friggin' his deal was, I'm a heel. I'm an arrogant piece of shit. That's who I am. To suddenly half-heartedly oh yay, pro America now, woo, didn't work, and the business fell flat. 1994, WrestleMania 10, the main event, that was Vince McMahon saying, I'm sorry to Bret. That's Vince McMahon saying, I'm sorry I didn't believe in you. And lest we forget, Bret also opened that show with one of the greatest openers in WrestleMania history, the match with Owen, where Owen won, setting up the summer. Amazing times to be had. But was the match great? No. As a moment, it's fantastic because it was Vince McMahon saying, I'm sorry. Vince McMahon doesn't apologize, clearly, as we can see, because of recent issues. But in that was his way of saying, I'm sorry that I didn't believe in you. Number 2, WrestleMania 6. Hogan, Warrior, title for title. 2 icons, 2 stars, 2 legends. Ultimate Warrior's best match of all time.
And he won.
And he won. Pat Patterson
He got leg dropped, got up,
yep.
and gorilla press slammed him and won.
Yep, got him, backsplashed him, the whole thing. Yep. So, missed the leg drop, backsplash, boom, boom, boom. Pat Patterson, amazing job hiding Warrior's weaknesses, putting together that epic main event. And it's unfortunate that Warrior couldn't hold up his end of the bargain because he was, he was ready to be the guy. He was supposed to be the next guy, and it just didn't happen. It just did not happen. And number one, for me, WrestleMania 20, the triple threat match, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Chris Benoit. Growing up, Chris Benoit was my favorite wrestler. That aged like milk. That aged like milk because of what Chris Benoit the person did. It's hard to watch Chris Benoit the wrestler. But Chris Benoit the person is an animal, and I hope he rots in hell. Chris Benoit the wrestler was a very good wrestler. And that was, for me, as a fan of his, seeing him take that next jump to main event level, beating not only Triple H, but also Shawn Michaels, right? And that's like, they don't put a WCW guy, a smaller guy, over the two biggest names in the company, unless they have some plans and they have some belief. And then at the end of that pay-per-view, you had him and Eddie Guerrero hugging. Oh, God. Another guy that died way too soon. Different reason. But for Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit to walk out of Madison Square Garden with the championships around their waists and over their shoulders, it was a moment. And like for me, I was a Benoit mark. Like everything it looked real. It looked like it hurt. It looked like legitimate professional wrestling, right? He was the wrestler's wrestler. And for him to to take that level, like it was a sight to behold. Little did we know, just a few short years later, he'd be erased from existence because he was a monster. In one shining moment, in one brief period of time, he was the man. But that's our list. What's yours? Hit us up. FadeRouteMail@gmail.com. Slide in our DMs on IG @FadeRoutePodcast. Drop us a DM on X @FadeRouteDNZ. And let us know what your favorite WrestleMania matches were.
Thanks for listening to this episode of our podcast. If you like what you heard and want to hear more, be sure to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Rate us 5 stars, leave us a review, turn on subscription notifications, and tell your friends. Spread the word, spread it wide.